Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. This is Josh. I'm going to be your presenter today. Before we go into our topic, I just want to point out that right here at our resource center, so we go to churchwindows.com here in the upper left, and let me get out my highlighter here, /resource center. It is also found by hovering over customer support and resource center here. When I go over here to the right side, under the search right here, okay, when I click in that search box and type in 941, we notice the second option down the left-hand side here, right here is 941, filing instructions for payroll. When we click on that link, it now brings up the document that's here that I'm using. If you have a minute before we get started, now or later, I'm using this document as my guide or printed material for the webinar today. If you have time and you want to go out and grab that right now, but if not, you can watch it later on the video. Here's the video from last year, version 25. Hasn't changed that much, but that'll be replaced with today's. But the document is right there, print or view PDF 941 filing instructions if you're wanting to go grab that now. All right, so first of all, some of you may be doing that. Right now we're on version 26.24.0 right up here. Folks, this is important because this includes our New Year's tax tables for 2025. You also want to get that. We're working on 26.24.1 now. That's probably going to be out here maybe in the next couple of weeks. First patch or update for this. If you're on payroll, you definitely want to make sure you're on 26.24 for sure. If not, please call us. You may not have gotten email, or it might have gotten in your spam or junk folder or something. We're happy to get that over to you, but you want to make sure you've got that 26.24 so you have the most current payroll tax tables. We're going to go into payroll. That is where our 941 form, of course, is produced. Can't produce a 941 form from accounting, only from payroll. We're going to go up to report/export, tax reports, and tax forms. Okay. When we click on tax forms, it populates with our list of forms for now in the year. I'm really kind of getting used to using my drawing tool now. Year of 2025. Leave the reporting period, folks, just below that as any, because that's not where you're selecting the quarter. Where you're selecting the quarter is right over here to the right there. All right. So when you click on the menu for quarter, this is where you choose the quarter that you're filing. But over here on the left, you've got to make sure, first of all, that you're choosing the 2025 941 Schedule B 941V report, okay? That is our 941 form for 2025. So make sure to choose that before going over here to your quarter and choosing the respective quarter, okay? So once we've chosen that, we've chosen the form, the year is correct, of course, then I'm going to come over here and choose my quarter, okay? Then it's going to say, then I'm going to click print. Okay, this now on the document, this is what's covered on that first page, is showing how to select the form, choosing. Now the form, here's the thing, folks, I want to point this out. On that screenshot on the very first page, it talks about choosing the form, choosing reporting period quarterly. I want to make sure that folks are understanding that when we choose that under reporting period quarterly, all it does is it narrows down the reports you're able to choose from the left. On the left, okay? I choose any because I know what I'm looking for. If you really want to, you can choose quarterly if you wish, but I'll notice all it does is 941X and the 2025 941, okay? So all it does is restrict the forms that are listed on the left, or pairs those down. But I don't have to choose the reporting period in order to select my 941 for 2025. That's all I want to make clear about that. Then we go to our quarter, okay? Now we're going to click print in the bottom right. This is a really important screen. The verify 941 deposit amount. This amount is gathered based on the payroll information and payroll postings that are occurring for the quarter that you've selected. So in this case, our total deposits for quarter one of 2025 total $6,322.34. All right. With that in mind, we're either a monthly or a semi-weekly depositor. But if this amount is wrong, or if you are a truly quarterly depositor, all right, basically any company or church that has a total tax deposits of less than $2,500 are considered a quarterly depositor, and we're going to talk more in detail when we get to the form about that, is if you're a quarterly depositor, of course, you're not obligated to make a deposit until after the end of the first quarter. So if that's you, and the software is going to show, okay, you have $1,200 or $1,800 or whatever it is that's less than $2,500, but if you've not physically made any deposits yet, you're not going to check yes on this. Okay, you're going to click no. Okay. So if you say enter the correct amount here, is this amount correct? So if you have not actually physically deposited anything January, February, or March, or any one of the 3 months, just leave that as 0 and simply click yes. Because what happens is then it shows an amount due on the form, and then you're going to go into EFTPS, in the first 2 weeks after the end of the quarter, in this case, the first, couple weeks of April, make that deposit. Then they go, okay, balance due is the amount, and here we receive their deposit. You're only going to enter an amount here for the deposits for the period if you have actually made physical deposits during the quarter. Okay? If you have not deposited anything until after the quarter is over, then you're going to choose no, leave this as 0, and click yes. Then it'll show deposits that are made and then amount due on that. Okay, I'm just trying to point out that a lot of folks are confused about why this shows up when they're physically haven't made any deposits yet. Okay, but this is the total that the software thinks you owe for the quarter. In this case, our deposits are correct. A lot of folks just don't click no on that and see that there are other options. And I just want to point out that even if you've made an amount of total deposits that are different than this amount. So if I made deposits during the quarter that were a penny higher or a penny lower than the amount that the software thinks I owe, I'm going to click no and enter that amount. Okay? Just want to make sure you understand, because what will happen is when I get to the form and it goes, oh, well, your total deposits are this amount and you've deposited this amount, you either owe more money or you're owed a refund. And how do you want that money to be refunded? Do you want it to apply to the next quarter? Do you want it to be sent back to you in the form of a check? So in this case, we have deposited $6,322.34 throughout the quarter, monthly or semi-weekly. So we're going to click yes on that. Okay? And that saying no and entering the amount of the deposits for the period is also listed on the bottom of page 1 there on that first page of the report, the document I'm using. So I'm going to click yes. Now moving on to page 2 on the form, it now pops up and it should say, yes, company setup wizard. So it's verifying my tax ID or EIN number. If this is not correct, I'm going to cancel out of this, go back to the home screen, go to administration, sysinfo, organization information, and I'm going to enter the correct tax ID number there because that's where that gathers that. Okay? Not going to close out of this, folks, and show you that because it's time consuming and it takes a little time to get back to this report. So I'm not going to show you where to do that. But it's back under administration and sysinfo. Organization information is where that tax ID is entered. In our case, this number is correct. So we're going to click next. It's kind of follow the bouncing ball, folks. Really don't overthink it. Okay? So in this case, it's asking, am I using multiple data files for the company or yes or no? In this case, we're not. We're just using one payroll database for our 941 total, so we're leaving it as no, and we're going to click next. So again, this is all on page 2 of the document. It's verifying our company information, church name, address, contact information if applicable, email address, phone number, etc. When that information is what I'm wanting on or for the form, I'm going to click Next. And then we're now going down to which is what type of filer are you? I am filing for my company employer. That's the default. Or if you are a third-party paid tax preparer, you would change it down to that second option. But 98%, 99% of our users are going to leave it as I am filing for my company employer, which is what we're doing today. I'm going to go to Next. It now pops up and it's asking us to enter information with regards to missing state tax ID information. Never quite entirely sure why this is for a federal form, but we're going to go ahead and enter information with regards to that. And again, I can enter that back at my sysinfo screen where I would key in this information. But as it is, it's allowing me to enter it right now, okay, for my state. It's also asking me to enter one for another state here that I have in my here, folks, so just bear with me while I go through that. Go to Next. Now, once I've got no red information here, I can now proceed to Next. That's what it's again showing on page at the bottom of top of page 3 is basically state and local taxes, state tax items in this case. That's where the screens change slightly. Go to Next. Here's my special state and local tax situations. Folks, if there's red on any of these screens, you have to get those fixed before it will allow you to proceed. Okay? Notice if I click on anything here for one of these, I do have an option to click Edit. But if there's no red, basically their system is saying they don't have an issue with it. Okay? So again, I don't have any problems. I'm going to Next. So now it's actually going to be opening and processing the actual physical form itself. Okay? Takes a few seconds sometimes, but it's now opening in the Aatrix system here, Aatrix interface, where it's now actually processing the 941 form. So the first thing it says there in the middle of page 3 is please, and like it shows here, please complete the red fields, enter information, tab for next, information and tab for next red field. So I'm going to click OK through that. Okay. So now it jumps us, and I'm going to show you this just simply because we've got the time and I want to make sure folks are clear, is it's now jumped us down to page 2. See in the upper left-hand corner here, I have it set, it's taken us to page 2 because it's wanting me to select my deposit schedule. Okay. Now we get this call a lot, and I'm going to spend a minute here talking about this because the rest of this isn't going to really take a whole lot of time here. Is if you have even 1 penny or cent less than $2,500 in total deposits, their system is only going to permit you to choose quarterly, the top checkbox. Okay. I'm only talking about this because I get it on my support calls all the time. But Josh, I'm a monthly depositor. Why isn't it letting me choose monthly as my deposit? Because Aatrix system says, as it indicates right here, if line 12 for the prior quarter was less than 2,500, okay, it's not going to let you choose this line. And so ours is now allowing us to choose either monthly or semi-weekly, depending on whether I need to file the Schedule B or not, okay? Usually it's got to be fairly large, sizable payroll and amounts in order to be able to choose that semi-weekly. I think it's, what is it, 100,000 or something? But here's my thing is folks are like really concerned about that. But the government is very clear. Even if you want to continue to deposit monthly, folks, go ahead and do it. The government's never going to turn down your money, okay? They're never going to not take that. So if you have $2,500 less than $2,500 in total tax liability, then basically you just can't be penalized if you don't make your deposit until after the end of the first quarter or the end of the quarter, as the case may be, okay? So, but absolutely, go ahead and continue to deposit monthly even though you're not legally required to do so, okay? Or may not be required to legally do so. Okay, so I just want to make sure because we get that a lot. Just leave it in the first checkbox. Leave the amount of the tax liability. Send in the form. You're going to be fine. In this case, we can't. We have to choose either monthly or semi-weekly. If I go to semi-weekly, notice it says semi-weekly depositors must complete the Schedule 941 Schedule B, which now adds a third page in the upper left corner here. See? So if I now go to page 3, here is my Schedule B. All right, I like to just point out that as long as you have the ability to do that, but I'm going to choose whichever one of these supports my deposits. So if I'm depositing semi-weekly and I can do so, choose semi-weekly and complete the Schedule B. If you're depositing monthly, choose monthly, and it does detail the monthly deposits below that. And those should check out with the amount that you actually physically deposited. Okay? Sometimes when folks are doing their quarterly, they're choosing the box 16, first box right here for the 2,500 or less. They get an amount that shows up here under line 7. We have one here, but it's not generating a difference. See, it's for rounding for fractions of cents, adjustments for fractions of cents. So sometimes it'll show an amount due or balance due or a refund amount based on how the quarterly filings go. All we have to advise you to do is just make the adjustment to line 7, so either the balance due or the refund amount or overpayment amount goes back to 0 or blanks out like it is now. Okay? Just make that change. This typically only occurs, again, in my experience, when you're with quarterly file or with quarterly depositors, those that can only choose this box. Okay? But we're monthly. Now we have to come down here and we have to type in our name. I'm just putting my name. I'm putting my title in here. Okay, and then I would put down my daytime phone number. Okay, now it's jumping back up to page 1. No more red fields. I'm ready to now process the form or print it. Okay, so I'm going to go right up here to print at the top. I'm going to send it to my printer. Boom, I've sent it. I've grabbed it off the printer. The form is presentable. That's my copy. Nope, sorry. No, I have to go to next step. I apologize. Next step. I wouldn't go to print there because that's not really doing me any good. It's basically saying if you need to file a change of address for responsible party, form 8822B, check the box on the signature page. We're not doing any of that. Now we're going up and clicking agree. You can ask it to double check, but it's already done that. We're on to page 4 now, folks. Okay. Now it's under my copy, and again, I'm sorry, I meant to do this earlier, we're looking at the yellow banner up here at the top left. It was under review and edit. We're now going over to step 2, which is my copy. So now I'm going to send a copy of this to my printer for my record keeping purposes. Going to print, and I'm going to click OK. I'm not connected to a printer, folks. That's why I'm using a PDF driver. Okay, so now I would just click save. And when I cancel out of it, it's just warning me it can print it. It would print it. I would grab that, make sure it says record copy on that for my records, put that in my folder. Then I can go to next step. Now I'm going to click just close on this. This is Aatrix trying to sell me something. Notice now that the blue bar in the upper left corner is now moved underneath federal copy. Okay, so if you're wanting to have Aatrix e-file for you, says right there, click the e-file button to electronically file this report for $9.99. Not bad. So not unaffordable, or unaffordable if you choose to e-file, but there's no requirement to do so. If you wish, you can certainly go ahead and click on print. And again, if I click on the print, it'll send it to my printer, allow me to print an actual copy that I will then send into the federal government. Okay. So then I'm going to, there. So now, once I've grabbed that off the printer and I've verified that the form is presentable and it hasn't misprinted or anything, but it's got all the information legible on there, sign it if necessary, then it's going to pop up with this message that says, did you complete processing this report? Okay. I'm sorry, folks, I'm going a minute long or so. But if I say yes to this, okay, and if you say no, this is where things could become troublesome for you in future, is if I say yes to this, it's now going to bring me back to my main pay tax form screen, but it's now put that form right here under the history list. right here. So if I need, if I get a nasty letter or something, I mail that in, and I get a nasty letter from the IRS, in another, year or two from now saying, hey, we never not got your quarter 1 941 form for 2025, I can go in here and I can find that under my history list. Okay. So there it is, Schedule B 2025 Q1, print and mail. And if I need to, I can come back in here and I can reprint that and send that in. But only because I said yes to completing the processing of the form. If I say no to that, it is incomplete and it does not go into this list. So that, folks, is where I'm going to leave our topic for today.